Now that we have understood probability theory, let's now understand Bayes' theorem. We know from our previous lecture that according to conditional probability, probability of A given B can also be written as probability of A and B over probability of B. If we flip A and B by same logic, probability of B given A can be written as probability of A and B over probability of A. What I've done is I've laid it in a linear fashion by bringing probability of B onto the other side of equation. Same way, bringing probability of A to the other side of equation. So that would allow us to write probability of A and B as probability of A given B times probability of B. I've moved B here. Same way, probability of A and B can also be written as probability of B given A times probability of A. Now, if I take only this part and from the left hand side of equation, I move probability of B as a denominator to right hand side of equation, my equation looks like probability of A given B can also be written as probability of B given A times probability of A over probability of B. Now let's understand what this means. So probability of A given B can be interpreted as our calculation of probability of A given something else has happened. In this case, it's given B has happened. Now this probability is unknown to us and hence we are calculating it. What Bayes' theorem does is, this is also known as posterior probability or probability afterwards of B happening, probability of A happening after B has happened. Bayes' theorem converts posterior probabilities into prior probabilities given some evidence. So let's understand these terms. See, probability of A given B, posterior probability, is equal to probability of B given A. Now this is probability of B given A has happened. Now these, as we would see, these are the terms that we would have information about, and probability of A given B is the term we are trying to find. Probability of A is also called as evidence. These are the probabilities which would be available to us. Same way, probability of B, this is something that would be available to us, and hence using Bayes' theorem we can convert posterior probabilities to prior probabilities. Let's look at an example to understand it a little better. Suppose we have a data set with x1 to xn features and a class label C. Let's see what we can figure out using Bayes' theorem. So if we have to understand probability of the class C given a set of feature vectors x1, x2, x3 and so on up to xn, let's denote it by xi for ease of representation. To calculate this probability, I would use Bayes' theorem and then convert this into prior probabilities and evidence. So here, probability of a class given a set of features can be written as probability of features given a class times probability of a class divided by probability of features. Bayes' theorem can help us to determine probability of a record belonging to a class given the data that we already have. So let's understand this better. Now the P class term in the formula, this is known as prior probability of C. This we would get from our data. So imagine a data with series of zeros and ones denoting the class. So sum of all the ones over all the record would be probability of C. Now this is before the data is taken into account and hence known as prior probability. When I say before data is taken into account, we do not discriminate at this time anything related to features. So regardless of the features, P class C is probability of a class being something. That's about it. Probability of features given a class. This term is the likelihood function. This represents joint probability of observing a given set of features given that a record belongs to a class C. This also would be available if we look at and interrogate the data that would be provided to us. Now the final term, probability of all the features, this term is called the evidence. Basically we are trying to find probability of a class C given a set of features or evidence. This entire term, as I said, is called posterior probability of C. This represents probability of a record belonging to a class C after taking data into account. That means probability of a record belonging to class C given any set of features. Let's try to understand what is the entire idea behind Bayesian interference and how it helps us update our beliefs about a distribution of class C using some evidence at our disposal. Let's cement our understanding by taking a concrete example. Let's say this is our data. The data set has some features about outlook. Outlook for the day can be rainy, overcast, sunny. It gives a feature temperature. It tells whether temperature is hot, mild or cool given a day. It has a feature humidity, high or normal. It has a feature windy, whether it was windy or not that day. And finally something we are trying to predict. Should we play or not? So you would see every record giving a set of features and a class being whether you would play or not. Now our goal is, given a set of features, can we predict the class outcome? So assumptions made by naive Bayes is 1. All the features are assumed to be independent of each other. That would mean temperature would not influence humidity in any given way. So there is an inbuilt assumption that if temperature is hot, it would not mean or cause humidity to go high. We would assume that these two variables are independent of each other. Often you would see many algorithms in machine learning would have this assumption that all the features are independent. This is the same assumption we made while we learned linear regression as well. The second important assumption made by naive Bayes is the input of all the features is equal. What I mean when I say input is all the features make equal contribution or have equal predictive power when we are trying to predict the class variable. Now with those two assumptions, let's dive and see how to calculate naive Bayes with hand, and then we will move on to see a notebook and how we can implement it using Python code. Now our goal is to find the predicted variable play. So probability of y, that means probability of us playing, that means yes, given, and these are the features that are given to us. If it was rainy that day and it was mild temperature, high humidity and it was windy that day, what is the probability that we would play? So using Bayes theorem, I would rewrite this as converting these posterior probabilities to prior probabilities. I would write this as probability of given these features, probability of these features given play is equal to yes. So given us playing, what is the probability of it being windy, it being mild temperature that day, it having the day being highly humid and windy? times probability of y over probability of the day being rainy, probability of temperature being mild, probability of humidity being high, probability of the day being windy. The probability of y is called prior probability because this is something available to us already. So if we ignore all the data and just take the play column, it calculates the probability of us saying yes, us playing. Probability of the day being rainy, temperature being mild, it being high humid and high windy day, given that we play. So this is subset of this data set if we filter play column by yes. And at the bottom we have denominator, which gives us a probability of the day being rainy, mild, with high humidity and highly windy. Let's calculate each of these to arrive at our answer. Now first let's calculate the prior probability. Probability of us playing. So if I look at this column, I have 8 observations, out of which 5 are yes. So this straightforward becomes 5 by 8. This would become my prior probability, probability of me playing. Now let's calculate the denominator, probability of the day being rainy, temperature being mild, being highly humid and highly windy. Now you remember when we spoke about assumptions, the first assumption that we made was each of the features for naive Bayes algorithm are independent of each other. That means I can take this probability and using the probability understanding that we gained via our previous lecture, I can write it down as probability of rain times probability of temperature being mild times probability of day having high humidity times probability of the day being windy. Now each of these are fairly straightforward to calculate. Probability of day being rainy is I see 3 rainy days on overall 8 days, so it becomes 3 by 8. Same way we have 1, 2, 3 mild days on 8 days, so 3 by 8. We have 5 instances where humidity was high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it becomes 5 over sum of all these 8 instances, so 5 by 8. And we have 4 windy days of the 8 days, so probability of windy day being 4 by 8. Now if I multiply all of this, it gives me my denominator. That leaves us with calculating one term, which is the probability of it being rainy, mild temperatured, humid and windy given that we play. Now remember I said this is nothing but calculating probabilities on a subset of data where play is subsetted by yes. Let's see how we can calculate it. Because again we bring in our assumption of all the features being independent, I can break this term down as multiplication of probability of a day being rainy given we play times probability of the day temperature being mild given we play, probability of the day being highly humid given we play times probability of the day being windy given we play. Now let's calculate each of these terms and finally arrive at our answer. Probability of rainy being given that we play can be looked as in a simple way. I have redrawn this table just taking the rainy column, just taking the outlook column and the play column, and I have put it as a matrix. So when outlook is rainy and we play, we have one instance of that, that is this, we play and the outlook is rainy. The second observation, it is rainy but we do not play, so it would go here. It's rainy but we don't play. Third observation is the day being overcast but we play, so it goes here. Fourth becomes sunny and we play, it goes here. Again sunny but we play, this becomes 2. Overcast we don't play, we have one observation here. Windy we don't play, this was 1 earlier, now it becomes 2. Finally overcast, yes, this becomes 2. That's how we arrive at this table. And now if I want to calculate probability of it being rainy given that we play, all I'm interested in is this column. So my denominator is every time that I play, and my numerator would be of the times that I play, how many times was it rainy. So here the answer becomes 1 over 5. In the same way, if I want to calculate probability of the day's temperature being mild given we play, we take the same approach. We subset the column temperature and play in the same way as we did before, and we arrive at a probability of it being a mild temperature given that we play. So we played 5 times, out of those it was mild twice. So this probability of the temperature being mild given that we play becomes 2 over 5. In the same way, we calculate probability of it being humid, high humidity given that we play, which becomes 3 over 4, and then probability of the day being windy given that we play. This becomes 2 over 5. If we multiply all these terms together, we would arrive at probability of it being rainy, mild, humid and windy given that we play. Now we have all our inputs required for us to answer the question, what is the probability that we would play given the day is rainy, mild, humid and windy, and hence we arrive at our answer 34.13. And this is how naive Bayes would calculate probabilities for each of the classes. In this example, we predicted the class play is equal to yes, but it might have been any class. So it might have been multiple classes as well. It might have been a binary classification problem. But as you see, naive Bayes, because it converts and works on probabilities, it would arrive at a probability of any given class. Now, given the fundamental assumptions that we make are very wide assumptions to make, in reality we would know most of these features would in some or other way impact each other, because we make a very naive assumption, and that's the reason why this algorithm is called a naive Bayes algorithm. Even though we make these naive assumptions, but naive Bayes algorithm has shown and proven to be one of the most effective and accurate algorithms out there, especially in tasks like predicting whether an email is spam or not, sentiment analysis. All of these naive Bayes classification has shown to outperform many other much more powerful algorithms. With this, I would again touch base upon naive Bayes theory. So Bayesian theory says probability of class C given x1. This is fundamentally the Bayes theorem. Probability of a class given a set of features can be rewritten as probability of the features whenever we see a class times prior probability of the class divided over probability of each of the features. In summary, the way algorithm works is, in training phase of the model, it would compute the likelihood function, this function, as we calculated with those subsetted tables. That's what the algorithm does. It does it for each of the class for every possible arrangement of features, and then it would also have one single calculation for probability. This is prior probability. It just needs to read the classification column or the predicted column and arrive at this prior probability of the predicted, and it would have parameterized the entire data set that we have. So this naive Bayes classification algorithm is a parametric algorithm. It would arrive the parameters by calculating these, and the prediction phase of the model involves calculation of posterior probability for each of the class given a set of features. and then choosing the class with highest probability. So it works fairly well with multi-class problem as well. If there were 5 classes to predict, it would arrive at the probability for each of those 5 classes using the same equation, and whichever probability is the highest, it would tag those features to that particular class. That is in essence naive Bayes algorithms internals. In next class we would see naive Bayes in working on a notebook. Thank you.